What's up, you guys? We're back for some more mobility. Today, we're going to be focusing on some wrist work and we're going to be focusing on some shoulder work. The goal of this thing is to kind of get at some of the things that get really tight from all the time that we spend at our desks. So, we tend to be rolled far forward in our shoulders, which causes all kinds of problems. And we're also at our keyboard, which puts our wrists into kind of a funky position all the time. And these are common areas that people mention having problems with. So we're just going to work on kind of loosening up some of the muscles around them. Even if it doesn't seem like what we're working on is a specific issue to where you're at, hopefully it will kind of free up some slack down the line. So maybe it'll affect something that you maybe have had issues with in the past, or might be something that's nagging you in kind of a roundabout way. That's what we're getting after. We're going to begin with some shoulder work, and we're going to kind of work our way down the arm from there. We're going to start by taking the lacrosse ball and putting it back behind your shoulder. So there's a little bit of room for wiggle room here. You're going to put the ball just kind of back behind the joint. Okay, there's not like a specific area where it has to be. We're going to spend 1 minute here. I'm sorry, 2 minutes here. That was a lie. Rolling out those muscles. So put the ball back behind your arm like so. And then we're just going to go back and forth two different ways. So I put a little bit of pressure into the ball, and then I drop my hand down, palm down to the ground. Okay, then I come back up and I go back down. So you can move the ball around as you do this. Feel for some spots that feel a little bit more tender. Where I started out, that wasn't so bad. I could work there without really any problem. And then when I just move the ball, now it feels a little bit more real. So find areas that feel a little bit more problematic to you so that you can kind of work through them nice and slowly. We're going to be here for about another 90 seconds, and we're going to switch sides. So we're working on internally rotating our shoulder right now, right? We're internally rotating our arm. You want to keep your shoulder back and down. What happens if you go too far is your shoulder will pop up like that. So just go through the range that you can, keeping your shoulder back and down. Internal rotation is important. We can also work on the other way, externally rotating. So I can push my hand back so that the top of my hand is going back towards the ground. We can work on the same kind of rotation, but just the other way. Again, move the ball around a little bit. Try some different positions, and then work back and forth with your arm to see if you can work on opening up that range just a little bit. There's no like right or wrong to this. Just try to put the ball into an area that feels a little bit tight, and then just work through these ranges of motion a few times each, and then move it around. We're going for about another 45 seconds on this side. Try to keep your arm at about 90 degrees if you can. We're going for about another 20 seconds, then we're going to switch sides. All right, you guys, switch it up. Other arm, other side. We're going for 2 minutes on this side. So again, ball goes behind your shoulder. We're looking for 90 degrees roughly with the arm. And then we're just going to work internal, and then we're going to work external. The ball can move around a little bit, do a few passes internally, do a few passes externally, and then move the ball an inch or so. It's kind of a weird area to work on, but this stuff, like any other muscle, gets tight and can cause problems. So even if you're like, I don't need to work on that, that feels kind of far removed from, the things that I value in terms of mobility. Think about the whole body as kind of one big system. And as we do some of these more odd ones like this, what we're trying to do is make sure that there's not like a weak link in the chain. And if one specific muscle is overly tight, it can cause problems all over the place. So what we're looking to do is kind of make sure that there are no areas that are overly tight. Or if we're working on one of these things and you're like, oh my God, turns out those muscles are super tight and super tender and it really hurts to work on, then you have some information for things that would be worth your while to kind of get into a little bit further when you have more time. We're going for about another 45 seconds here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to need some kind of something to roll out on. So I'm going to use a dumbbell. You guys could use a broom handle, something like that. If you need to pause the video to go get that, I'll explain what we're doing. We're going to be working on rolling out our triceps. So muscle at the back of the top of our arm that can very much affect what goes on with the shoulder and can get tight from all the push-ups and burpees and all that stuff that we're doing. And is a very good one for when you loosen that thing up, man, does your shoulders feel a whole lot better. So hopefully this will be one that you can kind of feel the difference in after a little while. All right, so next thing we're doing, I'm gonna grab one of these dumbbells, and this is what I'm gonna use to roll out my tricep. Not ideal. If we were at the gym, I'd be using a barbell. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay face down. I'm gonna put my arm across the dumbbell like so, and I'm gonna do a few things. I'm gonna start by just kind of pushing into the tricep, and then I'm gonna pull and extend. So I just bend and extend at the elbow a few times. I can move the dumbbell down an inch. Ooh. You can go to the outside of your head, go to the other side, go back and forth. You can go palm down, you can go palm up, you can roll back and forth. My goodness, that gets real really quickly. So back and forth, bring your hand back, do a few passes, then move the bar, the broom, whatever you're using, up or down a little bit, and keep going. I would not call this comfortable. I just wouldn't. But sometimes those ones that feel the worst are the ones that feel the best when you're done. Let's hope that's the case. So keep rolling in, roll out. So what we're doing when we're moving our hand like this, we're moving our arm, is we're trying to get those muscles to contract and relax. So instead of just like thinking about it as like stretching them apart, we're trying to get them to flex and then relax. And as they relax, the idea is that whatever you're using, whether it's a lacrosse ball or some kind of dumbbell or whatever, it's gonna sink in a little bit further. So that's why we do this when we're like moving around as opposed to just like holding static stretches. Just kind of a different way of getting at those muscles. We're going for about another 15 seconds. All right, you guys switch it up. We got 2 minutes on the other side. So as always, try to find some stuff that feels like it's specifically, as much as this feels counterintuitive, find the areas that feel like they're the most problematic for you. So if you feel like one area is the one that you want to shy away from, instead of just avoiding it, try to put a little bit less pressure on it and just work on it in a way that you can almost relax into a little bit. I know that it's not super comfortable. Me telling you to go towards what's not comfortable is not very nice of me, but those are probably the areas that you'll get the most return on for working on. And my right side is grumpy. You guys notice the difference from side to side? Holy smokes. We got just over 1 more minute to go here. So when we get done with this one, we're going to be moving on to some bicep work. So we're going to work on the muscle on the other side of the tricep. And then we're going to do a little bit of static stretching. We're going to hop in a down dog for just a second. So I always like to attack these things in that way, where we work on some kind of like, almost like a, I hate to call this a massage because it is not that, but it kind of functions in the same way, and that we're getting into some of these muscles and getting them moving. And then we stretch after that. So the hope is that by doing this and doing some of these things that cause the muscles to move and to flex and relax, and then when we stretch, maybe they're a little bit warmed up or they're moving a little bit differently, so that the stretch is a little bit more effective. All right, y'all. Next up, we're gonna be working on our biceps. So we're gonna take the weight, a little bit more weight might be more effective here. But we're gonna put the weight on top of your arm. We're gonna go palm up, and you're just gonna be rolling the weight up and down your arm, okay? So this isn't a ton of weight here, but I can still feel a little bit of resistance. It's kind of awkward, I know, but you can maybe put one in on the ground, and we're just gonna be working on rolling out these muscles. So just kind of make the best of it. Roll all the way down to your elbow, and then roll all the way up to just above or just below your shoulder. You can rock the weight from side to side, roll down, roll up. When we're in the gym, we'll usually do this with the end of a barbell, which gives you some more weight, more leverage for sure. Remember that these things don't always have to be. I think one of the biggest misconceptions we see is that people get like freaked out if they're working on something. They're like, this doesn't hurt. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. It's all right. It's okay. Some of this stuff, if these muscles aren't overly tight, it might not be like a super intense stretch or a super intense sensation, but that doesn't mean that working on rolling them out and getting them moving isn't worth the while. We're going for about another 30 seconds on this side, and we're switching it up. Definitely not the most graceful process here, but I think it's doing the trick. So again, changing the position of your arm, going palm up versus palm down. We'll do a little bit more of that later as we get down closer to the wrist, but that kind of changes the way the muscles sit, so it's worth the while to try that stuff. All right, switch it up. Other side. Maybe I'm glad that I did not get a bigger dumbbell for this, because this is moderately uncomfortable as is. And I got a 10. If I would have got a bigger one, I might have been crying on camera. Don't nobody want to see that. So keep moving. Remember, you can go palm up, you can go palm down. You can roll the weight to the outside of your arm. You can roll it to the inside of your arm. Try rolling it up and down on either of those positions. We got one more minute to go. And we're hopping into down dog for a second. If you find one area that feels specifically tight, you can do something like this. Like just kind of grab the dumbbell and just roll it back and forth over that area. You can flex and then relax. That works too. Well, for about another 30 seconds, find the area that feels like you're going to get the most return for your work. You got about another 15 seconds to go. All right, you guys, set that dumbbell aside. Next up, we're going to hop into down dog for just 1 minute. So hands at about shoulder width, feet at about hip width. We're just going to push our hips up and back. So think about this. Focus more on what we just been working on. So opening up the shoulders. So push your head back towards your thighs. You can stretch your legs for sure, but think about what's going on with your shoulders mostly. That's what we're trying to open up. Maybe do some circles with your neck. Go back and forth each direction. Maybe walk your hands back a little bit closer to your feet and then push back even further. All right, next up, we're going to grab a lacrosse ball again, and we're going to be working on rolling out the forearm. So there's two ways that we're going to do this. We'll start like this. I'm going to be on my right side. I'm going to put my palm face down to the ground, okay? I'm going to put the ball on top of my arm, and I'm just going to roll out the muscles on the top of my forearm, all right? We're going to be here for about 45 seconds. We'll spend a little bit longer on the other side. So rolling the ball around gives me a little bit of tension, but if I just kind of keep it stationary and then use it to just do circles, that feels like I can get even a little bit further and more productive. So that's what I like to do. You guys could do either one. If this stuff's really tight for you, then maybe rolling the ball in circles might be better, but get busy, get after it. Let's go. go all the way down to just above your wrist. Go all the way up to just below your elbow. And now we're going to spend about another minute 15 going the other way. There's a little bit more area to cover here. So go palm up and now roll out the more meaty part of the forearm here. So same thing. If you want to just kind of hold onto the ball and then just do some circles like so, you can do that. If you want to roll it around, you can do that. But just spend a little while loosening this stuff up. So these muscles get super tight from holding on to things, doing all the dumbbell work that we're doing, especially when we're in the gym, when we're doing a lot of stuff on pull-up bars and all that. But holding on to dumbbells and all that, and if you're working on your computer all the time, which we all are, these things just get tight. So it's just a good way to loosen up some things that get overly active and get overly used, and we don't think about working on like the mobility and the muscles around our wrist very often, right? We got about 30 more seconds here, then we're switching sides. Again, kind of feel around for any area that feels like it's a little bit tighter than another and spend maybe a little bit extra time on that. If you guys don't have that and it just kind of all feels the same, then just try to get as much of the whole area covered as you can as you work. All right, next up, we're switching sides. We're going to the left. So we'll go about 45 seconds with our palm down, then we'll spend about a minute 15 on the other side of the arm. So you can start with some small circles, just kind of rolling the ball around, getting things moving. And then once you've covered the bulk of that area, then maybe start to kind of push the ball in and just do circles this way. So the ball stays in the same area and you're basically just moving the skin around on top of the muscle. And get a little bit more pressure that way. Move around, see what feels more tight than other areas. Get into some of those spots. All right, then we're going to go palm up. So now we're exposing the bottom of the arm, the bottom of the forearm, and we're going to roll this out. So again, start the same way. Just nice and easy, big circles, rolling the ball around. Just kind of feeling for if any specific part of this area feels more tight than another. Kind of watch your fingers flex back. That's kind of creepy. The lower I roll, the more that happens. We got about another 45 seconds here. So if you guys found one area that you're like, ooh, that feels a little tender, you can work on that. Do some little circles in there. Got about 30 more seconds to go. Just going to do a little bit of light wrist stretching after we get done with this. All right, you guys, step a little cross ball aside. Next up, we're just going to stretch our wrists out a little bit. So I had somebody a long time ago at the gym tell me that this actually helped them get rid of their carpal tunnel. I don't know if there's any like proof to that or if there's any like if that's legit, but he did say that it helped him out a lot. So if nothing else, you can give it a shot. We're going to start by putting our palms flat down to the ground. Okay, I'm going to put my knees right up to my wrists. I'm going to flatten out my fingers. So my fingers always want to tent up like this. I'm going to flatten those things out. I'm going to lock my elbows, and then we're just going to spend a minute just rocking forwards on tension and then sitting back and coming off tension. So rock forward and then rock back. Nice and easy. If you want to spend more time on than off, then you can just kind of do some little pulses at the further range of your wrist here. Keep those elbows locked. See, my fingers want to continually tent up. Try to keep them flat, just nice and easy on the pressure here. No need to go super far or to like make this an intense stretch. Just feel a little bit of pressure through your wrists, keeping your hands flat. All right, next up, we're gonna flip our hands around. So our fingers are now gonna face our knees and our wrists are gonna face straight forward, okay? So the way that we're gonna do this, we're gonna go even slower. I'm gonna lock my elbows out when I rock forward, and then I'm just gonna really gently sit back. So go easy on this, just feel a little bit of stretch in the front of your forearms. Hang out for a second. If you wanna kind of sit back and then go off and on tension like so, that's all good. If you wanna completely come off tension and rock your weight all the way forward, you can do that. But we got a minute here. You can do circles if you want. About another 15 seconds to go. All right, and then last but not least, we're going to keep our fingers facing our knees, but now we're going to flip our hands around so that our palms face up, okay? So, as I said before, we're going to rock our weight forward to start. That's important here. Rock your weight forward so there's not a lot of pressure on your wrists. Lock your elbows out, and then really gently sit back. Okay, this one's a little bit more intense. You're not going to need a lot of pressure, okay? We're just getting just a very gentle stretch through our wrists the opposite way as we do this. If you guys are ever in if you're doing a warm-up, and you're doing like cat cows, that type of thing, I wouldn't recommend this one. But the other two that we were doing is a really good way to just kind of like multiply that stretch a little bit and be working on kind of two things at the same time. So my arms always want to do this so that my elbows bend to kind of take tension off. So I always got to kind of check back in with making sure that my elbows are locked as I'm working on this. You guys come on up. Whew. Do a couple circles through your wrists, just kind of get them moving again. We're just going to round this thing out in child's pose. So we just get a minute to just kind of chill out. So you can join me there. I'm going to go knees out wide. Okay, my feet point together. I sit my hips back over my heels. And then I just gently stretch my arms out in front. We're just going to be here for a minute. See if you can crawl your fingers a few inches further forward to increase the stretch in your shoulders, or you can just keep it really passive if you want. All right, you guys, that's 20 minutes. Nice work. Very productive use of your time. Keep in mind that as much as these things are meant to be something that should help your mobility by doing this class, it's also kind of helpful to use this as a diagnostic for where you're at. Like if you're ever working on some of these things and you're like, whoa, turns out that my forearms are super tight and like putting the lacrosse ball in there and moving it around is really uncomfortable, then you can kind of use that as a metric for things that you should work on later. When you have some time or you're like, I need to work on my mobility, use it as a way to figure out what areas in your body are a little bit overly tight so that you can work on them the next time that you're looking to be productive and kind of complement the exercise stuff that you're doing. So I hope this was helpful. If you guys ever have any questions on this stuff, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm at peter@twintownfitness.com. I'd be happy to go over anything with you to the best of my ability. I'm obviously no doctor, no PT or anything like that, but anything that I've tried over the years that's helped me out, I'd be more than happy to share with you guys. So if you ever have questions, feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, that's all that I got for you guys. I will see you on the next one. Have a good day.